Speaker Mike Johnson and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met at the Capitol today. The leaders reaffirmed the U.S.-Israeli relationship and spoke about their mutual respect. Now, they did not take any follow-up questions after the meeting, despite push from reporters out there. But let's take a listen to what was said.
I'm now completing a week in which began with an extraordinary meeting with President Trump. And under his leadership, the critical decisions that show his commitment and the American people's commitment to Israel have come to the fore instantly. First, he renewed immediately the supply of weapons that had been stopped, which we need as we're fighting for our future, for our existence, and for the broader Middle East in a seven-front war. He immediately released those weapons. He issued yesterday these sanctions on this scandalous and corrupt organization, the ICC, that threatens the right of all democracies to defend themselves by themselves. And he's done so many things in the interim, just in 2 weeks.
Today we discussed the special partnership that we have between these two countries, and I thank Prime Minister Netanyahu for his unrelenting commitment to making the region and the world a safer place amid really extraordinary challenges. What Israel has done in the past 7 months really is a testament to what can be accomplished when we do not let the enemy set the rules. As Prime Minister Netanyahu said Tuesday at the White House, when our enemies see daylight between Israel and the United States, they will exploit it. And we all know that is true. And that's why strong, decisive leadership is so crucial in this time. President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu both understand that peace is secured through strength, not appeasement, and not by turning our backs on our allies.
Space to do that.
I can't wait.
You'll be welcome on the red carpet.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
CBS News congressional reporter Taurean Small joins us live now with the latest. Taurean, thank you for being with us again today. What did we learn from the press conference that we just heard from Netanyahu and Johnson there?
Muga, we've learned these meetings that happened this week, including the one with Speaker Johnson today, served as this post-election affirmation of the U.S.'s alliance with Israel. Speaker Johnson, as we just heard there, not only mentioning the strong ties the U.S. has with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, but also his personal connection and friendship with him as well, as we just heard the invite for Speaker Johnson to come to Israel at some point. What was absent, though, from this very brief public press conference the two held was mention of Trump's announcement at the beginning of the week that the U.S. would be involved with the redevelopment of Gaza. That was something that caught quite a few folks on the Hill off guard, and Speaker Johnson and Netanyahu failed to mention that was part of the discussion that they had behind closed doors. Johnson, or Netanyahu rather, also met with a bipartisan group of senators this week. I spoke with Senator Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut. He was in that room and he told me that wasn't mentioned. There's no expectation that the U.S. would not only be a part of that, but finance that. He believes the onus there should be left on nations in that region, Mugo.
Yeah, and also, as we said earlier, questions were not taken after those two met and spoke. This morning, Speaker Johnson said details on a new budget resolution could be released soon to help advance the president's agenda. The Senate is also working on its own package. So the big question is, are they both on the same page?
That's unclear right now. Senator Tom Tillis told CBS News yesterday that they're working on priorities that they expect could get bipartisan agreement, but also they don't need it. They have a slim majority in the Senate, so they're looking to utilize budget reconciliation. Their top priority, it seems, coming from Tillis, though, is that they want to get through a package that would first include funding for a border wall for the U.S.-Mexico border, and then also those other priorities. It might not be this one big beautiful bill that Donald Trump has talked about on the campaign trail for quite a bit. Republicans, though, in the House appear to be more in line with Donald Trump's priorities and are looking to push through as much as they can through one piece of legislation. Speaker Johnson, coming out of that meeting with the White House with members of his conference, said that it appears that there are quite a few people in line, in lockstep with the president's thinking on this. He talked to members of the House Freedom Caucus who are pretty much on board with this. as we know, that has been the biggest thorn in Johnson's side, appeasing and placating some of their concerns. But if he has their support, we'll just have to wait and see the text from that. That could come out as early as next week, as he's looking to get it before the Budget Committee, like I said, as early as next week.
All right, wait and see, Torian. That's exactly what we'll do. And I want to ask you about Russell Vought, because we know the Senate just confirmed him as White House Budget Director. How is policy expected to change with Vought leading the White House Office of Management and Budget?
Well, Democrats decried this confirmation, saying that he would give President Trump, as his budget chief, unfettered access to what they're calling the dismantling of the federal government. We're seeing a shift in strategy from Democrats, though. They realize that the numbers are not in their favor. There has not been for Republicans to defect on some of these more controversial picks. So now they're looking to delay these confirmations for as long as they can, as Republicans look to fast track as many of Trump's nominees to his cabinet as possible. We're seeing them utilize things like opting for debate, and as we saw with Kash Patel's nomination in the Senate Intel or Judiciary, they're looking to push it off for as many weeks as they can. Their idea behind this is to ensure that the American public get a full understanding, as many hearings as possible on these nominees, and ultimately that could pay off in 2 years when it comes time for midterms.
Okay, so let's look ahead to next week. That's when the Senate will vote on if to confirm 2 of Trump's most embattled cabinet picks. We're talking about Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence and RFK Jr. for Secretary of Health and Human Services. What can we expect from the votes? As you mentioned, it seems that the Republicans have the votes that they need to push both of these candidates through. So are Democrats planning anything here to stop that?
The pathway is wide open, essentially. Again, Democrats have not yet found 4 defectors in the Republican Party to effectively block these confirmations. A lot of the Republican members on these respective panels that we were watching who had reservations before faced this immense pressure campaign from folks within the Trump world. They ultimately decided to vote those 2 members out of, or nominees out of, their respective committees, because they said they got assurances not just from the candidates themselves, but also from members of the Trump White House. We've known that J.D. Vance, the vice president, has been a power broker of sorts on the Hill, talking to these members, being general counsel essentially to many of these members that have reservations. In lieu of any significant pushback that we're seeing from Republicans, it's likely that those confirmations will happen sooner than later, much to the chagrin of Democrats.
All right, Taurean Small, thank you so much for your insight. We appreciate you spending time with us on the stream today.